G'day viewers, and welcome back to Aussie Backyard Food. Kombucha. No, I'm not inviting you to dissect an animal. I'm here today to tell you about the latest craze in delicious, refreshing, healthy, probiotic drinks that you can make yourself. Millions of people around the world are currently waking up to the health benefits of this delicious, healthy drink. And as with most new trends, they often start with the bearded hipster whose favourite habitat is the trendy inner city cafe, where it has affectionately become known as booch. And whilst I might not be real hip, I'm definitely bearded, so I've decided to jump on the bearded booch bandwagon. Science has recently started waking up to the importance of a person's gut microbiome, aka gut bugs, and just how important they are on a person's general health, digestion, immunity, inflammation, and just even how it can have an impact on a person's mental health. Did you know that the average healthy human contains more individual foreign organisms within them than they do their own cells in their entire bodies? Is it any wonder that the health of a human's microbiome has such a large impact on the health of that human? And it's a well-known fact that many of the things we put in our mouths in our modern lifestyles have a very negative impact on our gut microbiome, such as the highly processed foods containing extremely high levels of salt and preservatives, alcohol, many of the medications, and in particular, of course, antibiotics. They're like a nuke to your gut microbiome. So let's recap. Basically, everything you shove in your cake hole has a direct impact on how well you feel. You are what you eat, or in this case, what you drink. So why not climb on board the booch bandwagon? There's plenty of room. Let's get into it. Isn't she beautiful? Look at that. So why make your own, I hear you ask? It's so bloody easy. It's simply black tea with a bit of sugar and a SCOBY thrown in, left to ferment in a vessel such as this. I'd recommend the use of a vessel like this. This vessel cost $15, believe it or not, at Kmart. It's mostly used for cordial. As you can see, it has a tap on the bottom, which just makes it ideal and really convenient to fill your swing top glass bottles. Let me show you just how easy it is to make your own kombucha. First of all, this is my recipe to suit my continuous brew method and to suit my 5 litre brewing vessel. So firstly, we add 2 litres of water. Then we add another 2 litres of water. Then we add 4 tablespoons. Just standard black tea, billy tea, nothing too fancy, because any of those flavours or added ingredients can mess with your SCOBY and inhibit their proper growth and development. You got to look after your SCOBY. Then we add 1 final litre of freshly boiled water to our 4 tablespoons of tea in our coffee plunger. Then let that brew for a minute before we plunge. In the meantime, we add 2 cups of sugar to the pot. Now we plunge our tea and add our tea mixture to the pot. Get all that goodness in there. Ooh, yeah. Right, now it's ready to boil. So let's talk a little bit about water quality, because as I've been reading, that seems to be fairly important. We're fortunate enough to live in a part of the world that has good water, just normal tap water. While it does contain some levels of chlorine, you're able to boil that small amount of chlorine off just by heating your tea up, preferably with the lid off in an open pot. That boiling and bubbling process will allow that chlorine to evaporate off, and thus it won't damage or inhibit the growth of your SCOBY. It's important to look after your SCOBY. What is a SCOBY? It's an acronym for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. It's a culture. Symbiotic, what does that mean? It means 2 organisms working together, benefiting from each other. Let's have a look at it. The reason we put a cloth over the top of our kombucha is to mostly keep the dust out, and fruit fly as well. They love the smell of kombucha. So when you handle your SCOBY, it's important to have clean hands. There we go, and already our SCOBY has split into 2. So that is the perfect way to share your SCOBY. Oh look, there's 3 of them in there. They've been busy. So as you can see, they're quite dark, and you can tell which is the youngest SCOBY by the colour. That would be the youngest, the newest SCOBY, because as you can see, it's white. So it's just a matter of tearing the SCOBY and sharing it with your friends. So that's simply how you can multiply the benefits of making kombucha and share it with your friends. So the benefits of the continuous brew method in making your kombucha is that there's very little effort involved. You're simply providing the continued sustenance of your SCOBY by draining your primary vessel, which I'm about to do. You create space to add new food for your SCOBY in the form of sweet black tea. This is what's part of what's left of my last batch, the batch before this one. And as you can hear, there's the process of making kombucha creates carbon dioxide, and that delivers a little spritz, a certain amount of carbonation to your kombucha. As you can see, as I pour that kombucha into that glass, it's carbonated. Do you see the bubbles there? It's just a wonderful, light, refreshing summer drink. So once you've got your tea boiling, it's simply a matter of placing the lid on and turning the heat off and letting it cool. And of course, one of the main reasons we want to boil our tea, other than wanting to remove the chlorine, which is only going to damage our SCOBY, is to pasteurize it, to sterilize it, make sure there's nothing else living in there. And that's why we've got to keep the lid on until our tea has cooled to room temperature. You don't want to add hot tea to your SCOBY because that'll kill it. Alright boys, did you enjoy your swim?
Yeah, it's quite nice.
That's good. Alec here has never tried kombucha, so It's his first time. Honest opinion, mate. Let me know what you think.
Still tastes like beer.
It's not alcoholic. Don't get me in trouble with your parents.
Yeah, tastes really nice.
Yeah, it's not too sweet, is it?
No, it's good.
Alright, cool. Would you say it's a pass?
Yeah.
Would you say you drink it again?
Yeah. Yeah, if this is in my fridge, I'll drink it.
So how do you know when your primary fermentation is done? Well, it's summer here in Australia and average daytime temperatures at the moment are about 30 degrees, so it should only take about 5 to 6 days. But the other way to know, and the other advantage with having a vessel with a tap, is to give it a taste. And it should taste as if most of the sugar is gone, still slightly sweet. You can taste a little spritz, bit of carbonation there, and you know she's ready to bottle. So now it's time for your health warning. Beware the bad brewed batch of booch. How do you know if you've got a bad brewed batch of booch, I hear you ask? Well, I've never brewed a bad batch of booch, so I couldn't exactly tell you what that's going to smell like, but I can tell you that it won't smell like my booch. To know that you've got a good batch of booch, you should be able to smell a nice yeasty smell, almost like fresh bread combined with a bit of beer thrown in. So to do that, you just simply put your nose to the top of the cloth and take a lungful. It smells beautiful, I think. So yes, like I say, I don't know what a bad batch smells like. It's probably a variety of odours. And you should make yourself familiar with what good booch smells like. So why bottle the booch? Well, I suppose we should discuss why have a cloth lid at the same time. The cloth is to allow an aerobic brewing environment for your SCOBY. SCOBY needs oxygen to properly grow, and once it gets to a certain point, however, your sugars will all be consumed, your booch becomes less sweet and more acid. It'll start to taste more and more like vinegar the longer you leave it. Like I said before, to me the ideal amount of time is 5 to 6 days in the middle of summer. That might blow out to 7 in winter. But to put the slow motion button, if you like, on your booch, that's why we bottle. So we happen to be at the 6-day mark with this batch. As you saw before, I've tasted it. It tastes lovely. A little bit of spritz, a little bit of sweetness left in it, not too acid, not too vinegar. It's time to bottle her up. So why drink kombucha, I hear you ask? Well, it's a bit of a personal question. For me, anecdotally, it makes me feel well. It's a living, breathing liquid tonic for your digestive system, and I've noticed the benefits, without going into too much detail, of drinking kombucha on a regular basis. However, I do know of people that have suffered some stomach discomfort, but that seems to be an early side effect of your system, just getting used to that living culture that you're introducing to your system. It's a probiotic, and I mean, have you looked at the cost of probiotics lately? Without wanting to name brands, I was a big probiotic consumer because, yeah, once again, it made my gut feel good. But yeah, at $60, $70 a bottle, it does add up. Compared to a $30 setup and $1 worth of tea, I don't reckon you can beat it. Let's face it, we all have someone in our lives who, to use the bathroom after they've finished, well, it's like walking through the door and getting smacked in the face by a poo bat. I'll leave you to come up with your own diplomatic means by which you introduce kombucha. to that smelly person in your life. Another problem I've come across is, what do you do when you go on holidays? It's no problem for anything under a week, but if you're going away for more than a week, you take your brewing vessel, pop it in the fridge. All you got to do is, when you get home, pull it out, your booch warms up, your SCOBY rejuvenates. Well, our new sweet tea has cooled to room temperature, so we're not going to shock our SCOBY when we add it. So that means it's time to start bottling up.
What's that smell? What's that smell?
So I normally like to leave about ½ an inch of booch in the bottom of the brewing vessel, along with my SCOBY, of course. And now it's time to add our room temperature tea back to the mix.
Some booch in your belly. Get some booch in you, mate. You can make it
Then
yourself.
it's simply a matter of throwing on your cloth lid, sealing her up with your elastic band, and you're away with another batch of better brewed booch. For best bowel benefit
It's not too late.
and a better bog bouquet.